Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and even another episode on our Atomiswave to Dreamcast port series, because at this point in time we're getting really close to the entire Atomiswave library being available on Dreamcast. Today we're taking a look at the Rumblefish and the Rumblefish 2, and I'll tell you what I think about those games in just a second. But if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, there's a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support the channel. But here's the deal with the Rumblefish and the Rumblefish 2. I think somewhere there is a good game in both of these, but I cannot figure out how to find it. This game just seems infinitely unfairly difficult to me. I've been playing fighting games probably since the early 90s in arcades and at home, and while I'm not the best, and I don't pretend to be, I can definitely usually hold my own in a game even if I'm not too familiar with it. Now granted, King of Fighters is the franchise I play the most, and I can usually beat those entire games on one credit. Other games that I haven't encountered before, I can usually beat them, within 30-45 minutes of just poking around and figuring out what's going on with the systems and figuring out how I can progress. Now the Rumblefish, I've tried to play multiple times, and at least the original release, I can barely get past the first stage even if I spend a half an hour, 45 minutes. There's something about the AI, it's just incredibly predictive. It seems to know exactly what you're going to be doing at any moment in time, and no matter what attacks you try to use, it is just going to outpredict and outcompete you the entire way. Now, I'm highly assuming this is set on normal, because it seems like all the Atomiswave to Dreamcast releases have been set that way, but I really can't say for sure. But I have dialed this game down to easy on an Atomiswave, and I still struggle so much that I just don't want to play. This is the first match in the first round, and I am barely even attacking my opponent. I also think it's kind of funny that the first match in the first round ended up being a mirror match, but that's just me. I just think this game was highly designed to steal your quarters. Like, it's going to take you into an alley, it's going to beat you up, take your wallet out of your pocket, grab all the cash, and then throw it at your face on its way out of the alley. But leave me a comment below. If you enjoyed this series, do you play it a lot? Am I missing something? Because I've read about it, I've looked at the moveset, and no matter what it is that I do, I just can't really seem to mesh with the game, and it becomes so difficult and so annoying to me that I really don't ever spend the time I probably need to get better. Because you'll see here, I've switched from Boyd to Garnet, and again, the same thing's going to happen to me. Now, it's always incredible to get more games from the Atomiswave on the Dreamcast, and considering these were never really ported home, this is really the chance for a lot more people to play them. And I mean, they look and sound great. I love the 3D visuals mixed with the 2D sprites, kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but I just can't get past the difficulty curve. It seems like no matter what I do, I'm just terrible at the game. And like I said, if you know what I'm doing wrong, please tell me below, because sometimes I get comments telling me I'm not playing the game right, and I cover so many games, of course I'm not playing them all right. I don't have photographic memory for every game ever, and sometimes these are games that I've only played once or twice before, maybe 10 years ago, so I'm not an expert at everything. Trust me. But I've never had so much trouble trying to get into a fighting game. I spent 30 minutes capturing the original Rumblefish, and you're watching the footage here. I didn't get past the first stage. I didn't get close to getting past the first stage. I finally just gave up and said, you know what? Screw it, I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's what really frustrates me about these games, is that I know somewhere inside of them there is a good game, and I'm just not able to access it. And it looks fun, it sounds fun, and I want to be able to enjoy it more. And you'll see here that I got close to getting a victory in, but it seems like the better you start playing against the CPU, the more aggressive and predictive the CPU becomes, to the point where 95% of my moves are being blocked. And it seems really weird to have most of my moves blocked on the first stage. That's sort of something that happens when you get towards a boss character and suddenly, everything that you've been contacting starts to miss. But the Rumblefish is just doing it in stage 1. And there's not a ton written about these games, so maybe this is a well-known aspect. Who knows? But now, moving on to the Rumblefish 2, I will say I enjoy this one more than the original, but that's not to say I really had a good time with it. It's just to say I was able to make it to the second stage, and that's as far as I was able to go. And again, been playing fighting games for a long time, but yet somehow this series just is an impenetrable fortress to me, which I really hate because I want to enjoy it. I know other people that like it. I just really haven't been able to understand exactly how it works. And the weird thing about the Rumblefish 2, you're definitely going to get some more characters involved. The roster grew a little bit, but we get to stage 1, and we're in the exact same warehouse with the exact same rotating rotor in the back. the lighting just changed ever so slightly. So again, it just seems like the second, Rumblefish is just kind of a rehash of the first in its own right. What I'll let you do is watch just a little bit of the gameplay, hear the soundtrack, check it out, and I'll come back and close out on this series. I want to like it, I just can't. But I'll be right back. And hey, would you look at that, I got my first victory, and that just took 16 minutes, which is embarrassing to admit, but I don't understand how to do it any better. And this match here really pains me. I'm able to pull off a special attack, I've gotten a lot of Cheryl's life bar down, but the minute you start doing any better than bad in this game, the CPU says, nope, you're not getting any more hits in, we're going to predict everything. And then, the rarely seen, but cruel, double KO happens. And if this was baseball, a tie goes to the runner, but because this is the Rumblefish, the tie goes to the CPU, and I've lost again. And that, I would have rather just lost outright than do the double KO. But I finally was able to get a little better at the game, and it's sad to admit, I did it by basically button mashing. It's not something I like doing in fighting games, but I wanted to see at least a second stage for the video, so I just started hammering on every input possible, and suddenly, it was a lot easier. But that's not a good sign for a fighting game if the best way to get better at it is just button mashing. I'm just not really connecting with the specials. The CPU seems to be able to predict absolutely everything I'm doing, and it's just not a great sign when just hammering on the control like you're just guessing is going to be the best system. But hey, at least we got to see a second stage, and it gets much harder here. I don't know that I would ever be able to see the end of this game, and I honestly don't know if I care. But again, it's a new game for the Dreamcast, so I can't complain too much because it's not like I went out and spent $60 for this thing. But I really, more so than any other video I've ever made, want to hear you guys in the comments below. Do you play the Rumblefish? Have you gotten good at the Rumblefish? Am I missing something? Or is this just the reality of the game for most people? And I haven't had a chance to play this as the second person yet, just because middle of the pandemic, not really going to invite people over to my house to play, but I'd be really curious to see how this feels as a two-player setup versus a one-player setup, because again, I got pretty decently into Garnet's health bar, and the minute I got close to beating her, magically I just completely got mopped with the entire floor. Or got myself mopped with the floor, I'm not sure if I'm using that expression correctly. But that's the Rumblefish and the Rumblefish 2. Do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, it definitely helps us out. We'll have more videos in the Atomiswave to Dreamcast series coming up, as well as in our mainline series. But thanks so much for watching, I hate this game, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.